Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and joining me this week is Brandon.
Hello.
Kestrel.
Yo.
Hayne.
Yo.
And joining us for maybe the first time, Mark.
Hello. And yes, it is the first time.
Nice.
We've been doing this for a while, so sometimes I lose track of who's been around. I mean, at least you didn't fall, it's like Mark has been around for a hot minute, but never on this podcast. So
that is correct. Long time.
First time.
Welcome. I say welcome.
Literally the first time, long time.
Yes.
Dude, I hope you're ready to hear me just be ignorant as shit for the next hour and a half.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm here for, so sure. Absolutely.
I mean, it's your first time, so I assume we brought you on as the expert on the matter.
Then you thought wrong. Let's do this.
Yeah, my planning document that I was talking about earlier, all it says is just default to Mark. And that's all it says.
And over to you.
I
mean, if you need somebody to just talk randomly for an hour, I can do that.
Perfect, because that's what this podcast is all about.
That's what we
Excellent.
needed.
But first, Kestrel, what have we got for news?
All right, for news, so Otakon happened, and so we had a discotheque panel there, and that also came with a not live stream where they pre-recorded kind of the same announcements they were going to do in person and had it air live on YouTube at the same time, and then announced some extra stuff afterwards that they didn't have time for in the Otakon panel. So anyway, I guess I'll just go through the stuff they announced. So they got all of Funimation's English dub of Shin-chan, which, for those who are familiar, does not have a whole lot to do with the Japanese anime Crayon Shin-chan, but it is sure.
It was like an Adult Swim gag thing, wasn't it?
Speaking of redubs,
yeah. And then they got the next couple sequels of Higurashi, Kai, and Rei, which I think Sentai had released both of those as well. They announced, I think maybe last year sometime, they announced the original Urotsuki Doji, the classic, of course. So now they have announced all of the sequels and spin-offs and all the complicated shit that goes into that, which apparently there is much of. They got the first 5 Sergeant Frog films, which people were not expecting, including them, because the series did not do well. The Zone of the Enders, 2 anime adaptations of that game, they got that.
Bizarre.
They're just gonna get everything.
I know, Discotheque's known for hey, obscure thing from a million years ago. It's like, yes, we have it.
Exactly. They got all of Zegapane, which includes the original series, the compilation film, and the new film that just came out last year. They got the next 3 Digimon movies, which I think were all dubbed and aired on TV once, but never released in any other form. And then the big announcement that they saved till the end was Monster. We are getting all of Monster finally after over 20 years, 15 years since it was first aired and put online dubbed, and then released, Viz released the first 5th of it, and nothing else ever on DVD. So we are finally getting all 74 episodes in HD. They're working hard on their restoration. We got the series on Netflix 2 years ago, but it did not have the dub that was made 15 years ago. So this will also include that dub. And then I'll just...
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just touch on the other few things that they announced as well. So they got the Shin Aim for the Ace, which is not actually a Hideaki Anno remake, shockingly enough.
I'm relapsing.
I think the the auto version of Aim for the Ace is Aim for the Top Gunbuster. But
Good
yeah,
one.
we got Castle Cagliostro is getting another release. This time it's getting a fifth English dub. Fourth, I think. Fifth version total, including the Japanese. And that's gonna finally have the kind of established Lupin cast now. And it's getting a steelbook. What's weird is that it's Blu-ray only, even though they have released it on UHD. So I have no idea what's going on there, but yeah. And then they've got the Mega Man American cartoon series, Golden Boy. They're putting that out on Blu-ray.
I'll buy it for a third time. Why not?
And Project Arms, I think is the last thing they got there. Yeah.
Man,
Nice.
anime is great. If only because
Agreed.
we can have stuff like fucking Sergeant Frog, which didn't do well over here, and Kestrel, I believe you said the first 5 movies.
Yep. Yeah, I'm guessing that Sunrise was like, well, no one else will take this, so you guys can just have them for cheap. Because Discotek had said several times, we are not releasing any more Sergeant Frog. It did not do well. But then they're like, just kidding, here's 5 films.
Yeah, it's
What are you talking about?
Chuckle.
Dozens of us bought Sergeant Frog Blu-ray. Dozens of us.
Right.
Well, and I'm all for things like that because I want everything that's obscure and terrible and everything else to be released. I want it always available. There's way too much amazing stuff that's just disappeared. So bring it all back.
I just remember when Sergeant Frog was coming out, and both on manga and like when the anime was like, and they were trying so damn hard to make that a thing, so hard.
Mhm.
I think maybe too hard, and that's probably what drove everybody off of it. Like at that point, it was just like, what are you trying to do?
Did you say that was a Sentai thing at first?
No.
No,
That was Higurashi I was talking about. This was Funimation.
Okay.
However, it was originally licensed by ADV, and that was in the days of ADV dying, and they lost that pretty quickly, and then Funimation got it and dubbed a bunch of it, then dropped it because it didn't sell. Then Discotek picked it up a year or two ago, and it must have been a few more years ago now because they have released all trillion episodes of it, most of them sub-only.
Okay, because I was trying to remember I think it was probably just for the Funimation sales, but Sergeant Frog was, the Blu-rays were routinely at the same area of the sales page that, like, all of the bad OVAs where they were just like $4? Come on, like $250? Does that do it for you?
Yeah.
They were always in stock and always the most deeply discounted stuff, along with like the High School of the Dead OVA that I'm pretty sure they had to pay people to take eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how Discotek is just turning into like Vinegar Syndrome for anime.
100%, yeah.
Hey, we need that in our lives.
Right. I mean, they've...
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Like Vinegar Syndrome, they probably have like a bunch of legitimately good stuff too. But no, none of that? Okay. I'm not familiar enough. So
it's mostly borderline smut and like really bad B and C movies that they put like incredible love and care into like 4K restorations, and then it's shit that you would see on like MST3K or YouTube channels like Red Letter Media where they just pick it apart and they're like, this is an awful movie, and then Vinegar Syndrome is like, but would you buy it for $40? And then of course tons of people do. Like, but there is the rare like good thing. Like I have a couple Vinegar Syndrome ones that aren't smut or whatever, and also one that's called New York Ninja, which is more of a historical like anomaly because it's a movie they found in film canisters in a warehouse without an audio dub, so then they had to like read the lips of the strung together footage and then redub it.
Nice.
So I bought it just for that alone. But yeah, no, Discotech has a lot more like what you would consider actual quality things. So if anything, it's probably more like fucking
Criterion.
Arrow. Yeah, Criterion or Arrow. One of those.
Yeah, I think Arrow is probably what I was thinking of in terms of like the range of quality. Where you got
that's
Criterion
a little more
level
accurate.
stuff and then the Vinegar level stuff. Yeah. No, I have a friend who is a huge B-movie fan, and he's always posting his Vinegar Syndrome pickups, and he's like detailing the incredible 4K restorations and the incredible depth of extras they have and everything. Like, yep, that's pretty much Discotech.
Yep. But yeah, the monster thing in particular is really, really good. Like,
hell yeah.
When you say HD, what does that mean in terms of this? Like, are they just cleaning it up but still presenting it in a 4:3, or are they trying to turn it into like a widescreen situation?
Oh yeah, I mean, no. Resolution and aspect ratio do not correlate.
Okay, cool.
It is still 4:3.
All right, I wasn't sure, because the Netflix one does kind of look shitty.
Yes. It looks a little rough.
I mean, it doesn't help that Netflix bitrate is also just ass.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. So you're taking a 480p show and then running it through that horrific algorithm. You'd be better off just listening to it and imagining what's happening.
Yeah.
But he can't do that because they don't have the dub.
That's true.
They got these things called picture books.
Ooh.
You can also take it in that way.
That's true.
I'd buy a monster pop-up book.
Yeah, any other comments on any of Discotech's announcements?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next piece of news I got. So we had One Piece Day this year, which was not on One Piece Day at all. It was several weeks later. Originally, One Piece Day was the actual anniversary of One Piece. For some reason, they did it later this year. And so they had an event there, and they announced a few things. No update on the One Piece, so maybe we'll hear something from Jump Festa at the end of the year. But what we did get was, we got a Season 2 trailer for Opla live-action series, and a confirmation that there will be a Season 3, which we all kind of assumed. But the one kind of real announcement was there will be a new anime adaptation of the One Piece Heroines novel series, which are spin-offs about female characters from the series. And I don't expect anything in particular from them, because they could be anything, but the last time they got an anime adaptation of one of those spin-off novels was One Piece Fan Letter, which was the best One Piece anime ever. So here's hoping that they let a creator just kind of go all out with this like they did with that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it's it'd be more surprising if like a bad piece of like One Piece side media came out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the director of this one has been announced. It's another woman, which is good for a series about only women characters. But not a ton of big directorial credits I see. Granted, it's not like Ishitani had directed any like full series, but everyone knew her because she had directed, all the best episodes of every Toei series. The only other thing that this director has really taken on, other than like a few episodes of Toei series, is the other One Piece anime spinoff that aired this year, which was One Piece in Love, which I knew existed, but I don't know that anyone actually watched it.
No.
So, we'll see. Next piece of news, we got some announcements for G-Kids stuff being added to HBO Max, formerly known as Max, formerly known as HBO Max.
Oh my god.
So, those include Children Who Chase Lost Voices from Makoto Shinkai, Fireworks from Akiyuki Shinbo, Fortune Favors Lady Nikuko, Ghost Cat Anzu, Lonely Castle in the Mirror, Love and Pop live action from Hideaki Anno. I'm sure we'll get Shin Love and Pop before too long.
Good. I'm not watching the first one.
Yeah, absolutely not. Plays Promise in Our Early Days from Makoto Shinkai. Your Name from Makoto Shinkai. And all the newish ones are in 4K as well. We're getting Angel's Egg from Momoshi, which they are also releasing in theaters sometime later this year, I believe. That'll be its first time streaming in North America, and will also be in 4K. Liz and the Bluebird from Naoko Yamada. Blue Over the Wall from Masaki Yuasa. Millennium Actress from Satoshi Kon. Mind Game from Masaki Yuasa. Perfect Blue from Satoshi Kon. Shin Godzilla, the proper Shin, from Hideaki Anno. Summer Wars from Mamoru Hosoda. Boy and the Beast, which I just watched again last night in theaters from Mamoru Hosoda. Colors Within from Naoko Yamada. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time from Mamoru Hosoda. And Wolf Children from Mamoru Hosoda.
All
Pretty
bangers,
nice haul.
wow.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shin Godzilla is also coming back to theaters.
Yes, it might be in theaters right now. I know it was this past week.
Yeah, it has been. I saw there was already a pretty decent box office research for something like that showing back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know Angel's Egg is also pretty exciting. That's one of the anime that a lot of people in the Criterion collection community would be like, if you could have one animated thing in Criterion Collection, what would it be? And it's almost always Angel's Egg because it has just enough eccentric art house vibe to it that people
The Letterbox bros are gonna go crazy for that one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It maybe someday. I mean, the Criterion has been more welcoming of animated features as of recent, getting WALL-E and shit like that. I know they were partnering with Disney and stuff, but I think they've had 2 or 3 come into the collection recently. When before it was just Blue Planet, which it's a French animated film. And that was just about it. So, I mean, maybe if we'll see. I don't know who owns the rights to that, but
it's G-Kids.
It would
These are all G-Kids.
So the G-Kids would get it, and they typically do a good job with their physical releases and stuff like that. But yeah, Angel's Egg is definitely one that anyone who's in that community is I want to start getting into animated things. But Criterion Collection, which is apparently the only thing I ever watch, is devoid of animated features, and they'll just be watch Angel's Egg and then watch everything Studio Ghibli and then go from there. So like everyone else said, a lot of bangers on that list just in general,
right?
So
yeah, G-Kids has basically, this has been a long process, but especially recently they've just been sweeping up basically all of the quality standalone anime features. Because they've got, at this point, the entire Ghibli library, the entire Hosoda library, which they have been putting all of them back into theaters this year, the entire Shinkai library almost, Kon also almost, Anno at this point, they have Evangelion. I didn't put this on here, but they did finally get the first 2 Rebuild movies, so now we're just waiting on the third one. And then they will have the entirety of the Evangelion franchise. They also got Nadia and now Shin Godzilla from Funimation. So, yeah, They kind of got it all. They got most of Naoko Yamada's standalone and somewhat not standalone stuff. And Angel's Egg, which has been a huge white whale for decades that no one has been able to get. And yeah, they'll be bringing that out soon.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and Love and Pop for Hano as well, since they'll do anime, anything, and then anything Ano ever touched, even if it's live action.
I was going to say, we'd be remiss to find out that he's also on the G-Kids board.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he did Shin Godzilla, and Toho now owns G-Kids, so it's possible.
Yeah.
And that probably also helps a lot of these acquisitions, is that Toho obviously, Shin Godzilla was probably not too hard for them to get now that they're owned by Toho, but Toho has also been getting very into anime production in Japan. And so a lot of these films are also under that umbrella, like a lot of the Shinkai films, for example. So, yeah. Next thing I have here is we got some Gintama news, which I was going to have as a segue into our main topic, but then Kate just added something that was announced today. But anyway, for Gintama news...
God damn it, Kate.
No, I figured when that was announced today, we should probably talk about it. But anyway, for Gintama, so as we will talk about, it is one of the many big, long-running Weekly Shonen Jump series that wrapped up in the past few years. It's actually been over for about 6 years now, and actually left the weekly magazine a little bit before that and finished its run in a couple other publications. But the anime properly ended with a film in 2021. We are getting a spin-off anime this fall, which they premiered at AX this year. That's a spin-off of, I think, a novel spin-off that the creator was not involved in. But they've also had little vignettes of it as like omake at the end of anime episodes throughout the years. So we're getting that in fall, but then the announcement we just got is that we are getting another movie for Gintama. And they're doing kind of everything that you can do for a Jump spin-off movie. They did, the first one was a compilation movie, straight compilation, some new scenes, I think. Second one was completely original story, spin-off. You can kind of insert it in between seasons, but doesn't affect the status quo. Third one was, we're actually adapting an arc from the manga, in this case, the end of it, which has become, a popular trend since, I guess Demon Slayer was only a year before it, so wasn't exactly following the trend, but this one is a remake of an arc that was already adapted into the anime. So this is the Yoshiwara in Flames arc, which I believe was originally adapted in the first season, 200 episodes. But it was before they really got the success that allowed them to have great production values. So this is going to be completely reanimated. And yeah, the trailer's out. Looks pretty good. I think, and of course, we have a comment from Gintama creator Hideaki Sorachi. So, it says, thanks to everyone's support. Ginpachi Sensei is being adapted into anime, and once again, a new Gintama movie is in the works. Thank you. It has been 6 years since the manga ended, yet the series continues to be exploited as a tool for greedy adults' popcorn money. Watching it squeezed until it loses all flavor, I still find myself thinking it's a writer's dream while looking at my bank book. I love Sriracha. Then he makes some comments about lead Seiyu Sugita and his lower body issues. I'll just read the whole thing. The rest of it isn't as good, but it says Gintama is rare in that its anime, novels, movies, and live action all managed, well, at least to look like they managed to succeed, pulling off a kind of last-minute escape. But at this pace, we won't be able to stop it until it eventually crashes and burns. So perhaps letting it end with a glorious explosion, maybe triggered by Sugita's lower body issues, would be a fitting Gintama-style exit. Please continue to look forward to Ginpachi Sensei, the movie, and also Tomokazu Sugita's future endeavors.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need Sriracha to come back to Jump. We need a new series, bro. He's too funny. So I think we have to call it now. I know it is basically Shin Gintama. They're just like redoing it, but there has to be some original content. I feel like they have to make like a Demon Slayer reference or something. I feel like we have to see something like that
from scratch. And the anime has always added in new material where it's appropriate. So yeah, I think it'll totally be like a different experience, and they'll add relevant stuff.
Yeah. That's exciting. had no expectations of something like this happening. So
yeah, me neither. At first, I thought it was just going to be another compilation movie like the first one.
Yeah.
Because I think they did another one of that, maybe one or two more recently after the series ended, where they're just like, yeah, literally just shoveling out shit we've already released for more money. But this one, they're actually making it from scratch.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, that was all I had for the news. If you want to talk about what you added, Kate.
Yes. During Gamescom this week, they announced a anime adaptation of the From Software game Sekiro. So they are. Let me pull up the press release on that. Me prepared? Nah, never.
They being Crunchyroll, just to put
Crunchyroll and several other people on a committee to make a thing, because that's how all anime is made.
Yeah.
And a lot of shit got announced today.
Yeah, really weird timing too. I didn't realize Gamescom was happening. So like seeing like new game announcements and stuff at like 5 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah, like the presser was going on at like 1:30, like Eastern or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this is a thing that happens, because it's Gamescom and people don't usually hold, the biggest news for Gamescom.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Katakawa Corporation, Crunchyroll, Kazil.Allah, and Arch. I don't know who two of those people are. Katakawa owns FromSoft, so that's duh.
Yeah.
And
although
they're also partly owned by Sony, who owns Crunchyroll.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yep. We'll stream exclusively on Crunchyroll worldwide, except for Japan, Korea, China, Russia, and Belarus. Let's see.
I don't know how to feel just yet about it, because it's like, who is making this? But I mean, it's exciting to finally see From Software getting something animated, and I think Sekiro was like the obvious choice of a series to do that with.
It's safe. It's probably the From game that has the most narrative in structural linear order, so that makes sense that this is probably the only thing you could easily adapt without going.
And it's the most Japanese too. So
yes, and it is that. The trailer looks nice.
Yeah, this studio has animated almost nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to look up who these.
I was a little worried that it stunk of like Crunchyroll original, but we'll see. Fingers crossed.
It looks a little bit better than most of the stuff.
Marginally better than X-Arm.
Oof.
That doesn't take too much.
The director is Kenichi Kutsuna. Let me see here. Who has done things?
Yeah, it doesn't look like any lead directorial credits yet.
This is going to be the breakout smash hit then.
You never know.
I mean, to be fair, we have been having a lot of people who have been like second, third string working on some series that have looked really quite nice lately. So,
certainly possible.
I mean, he's
and like
things.
The Taco P's Original Sin, first production by that studio, so you never know.
Yeah,
true.
I don't know about this Quizilla studio though. I'm gonna wait for Shin Quizilla.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Write that down.
Copyright it.
Yeah, it looks like the director was a key animator on a lot of things, so
like that.
Storyboards, key animator, yeah. Anyway, suffice to say, we'll see how that turns out. I never beat that game.
I need to play it.
I watched a speed run during Summer Games Done Quick, and I was disgusted because they reached the part where I stopped in about 10 minutes, and I was like, yeah.
You kind of have to let that go if you're going to watch Games Done Quick.
Right. I know. It was like I was like, and they were only doing the bosses that gave them power ups, and they were skipping a lot of the other things and cutting through, around cliff edges and the usual speed running bullshit. But still, the boss that gave me so much trouble, they just kind of pinned him against a wall and killed him in about 2 seconds using like a big, I'm like, oh, this is just bullshit. And then I was just mad at myself, and then so
it is very disheartening.
The really fun thing is that then you're like, you get inspired to go back to the game and you're going, oh, I can do this. And then you try it and it's like, oh, no, actually, I can't do this. It's great.
It's like, I am 44 years old. I don't have the twitch reflexes to do that shit anymore.
Not 13 anymore.
So, that was my one piece of news for this episode. My one contribution.
Thank you very much. It was it reminded me that I do need to play that game because that's a parry-based game, I think, as opposed to dodge, which I don't particularly enjoy. But I do like parry as a mechanic a lot, so I feel like this game would be more up my alley. I just haven't gotten around to it. There's just so many.
I'd say it's the parry game. I think most games that have a parry now probably owe it to Sekiro.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So I'll have to scoop up a copy on one of these sales sometime and get to it.
But both that and Bloodborne were pretty parry heavy games.
Mm-hmm.
I was bad at both of them. Better at FromSoft's other games. Take myself up.
All right. Well, I think it's time we can jump into what
oh man.
Yeah, right off the cuff with that, baby. Into the main subject matter of the podcast for this week and what we have a full house here for. And we're going to talk a little bit about the future, but also a little bit about the past and the present of one weekly Shonen Jump magazine. And I think we're going to have a lot of interesting things to talk about here, especially once we get to the kind of future plans and what are some of the big series that are trying to establish a market hold and maybe some other things that the more learned folks on this podcast will be able to shed some light on. But until we get to that point, I think it's always important to look back on the history, especially of long-running publications like this, just because you can kind of see some patterns even within that of subscription numbers, legendary, properties and things that help bolster, upwards of entire decades and things like that. So it can really help kind of put a little bit of extra light in meaning on where we're at now, as well as what could possibly happen in the future. So I'm just going to kind of go on a little bit of a spiel here. Obviously, you guys can cut in whenever you would like, because I'm not just going to drone on sermon style, or at least I certainly hope not. But
take us to church.
Well, we're gonna take a little trip in the way back machine here to the glorious year of 1968. So that is the year that Weekly Shonen Jump was first published, and it was actually bi-weekly for the first year before transitioning to weekly in 1969. At the time when it was released, it was mainly competing with Weekly Shonen Magazine and Weekly Shonen Sunday, which had begun almost an entire decade earlier at that point. So by the time Shonen Jump came out, it was already kind of punching a little bit above its weight against very established magazines at that point. So one of the things that Weekly Shonen Jump had kind of made its bread and butter on at that time, at least sort of ideologically, is allowing young creators who want to sort of explore much more mature themes, whether that be war, violence, erotica, things like that. They really wanted to take the limiter off, because that was considered what was to be the future and how they were going to set their foothold. So one of the very first author that they hired to write for Weekly Shonen Jump was none other than legendary Go Nagai. So Go Nagai, for those out there who aren't super familiar, I think it's the easiest things to talk about are like Mazinger, Cutie Honey, just an incredibly prolific amount of
Devilman.
Yeah, Devilman is a big one as well. Just a prolific writer all over the map when it comes to those types of things that Shonen Jump was really, really looking for to try and set their marketplace. So what he created for them in the 60s was a series called Horenshi Gakuen, which ran from 68 in the very first issue to 1972, which is a school comedy where the kids just, get up to escapades and things as an act of rebellion against strict teachers and harsh punishments and things. And that was kind of their first successful story. And the thing that they had hired Go Nagai to do, which is to make a serialized thing that actually had some quality. Now, what followed after that in 73, I think, was Mazinger Z. A really, really big, formative piece that kind of jump-started Mecha in that way. But as the 70s rolled in, the magazine gathered popularity for the mature themes and the generally long leash for its authors compared to other shonen magazines at the time that, from what I read, were a lot more stringent and very much so guiding hands towards what they could and could not publish. And I imagine as a creative type, it would feel rather restricting. So Weekly Shonen Jump was attracting a lot of young talent with the idea of, hey, you can do whatever you want. Generally, obviously you can't just make straight up pornography, but if you want to tell a story about war, if you want to tell a story about, Space James Bond or whatever with lots of boobies and shit, you go right ahead. So with that being said, I think two of the biggest series from the 70s that really put Shonen Jump kind of on the map, I'd say, and really prepare them for their golden era, which was coming up in the next decade, was Barefoot Gen by Keiji Nakazawa, which debuted in 1973, and then Cobra by Buichi Terasawa in 1978. Cobra, as we know it, I think is what, Space Adventure Cobra?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that debuted in 1978, so two kind of big examples of, if not long-running, Cobra was a relatively long-running, I think at 4 or 5 years, but Barefoot Gen was shorter, but Barefoot Gen got a lot of controversy at the time. It was a very harsh look at war, especially the World War II period in Japan and shortly thereafter, and it was also the first series that Shonen Jump kind of wanted to globalize and release, all over as sort of like a historical biopic of sorts. And it, of course, got a lot of negative attention in Japan, but also its fair share of negative attention over here, thanks to everyone's favorite comics code of ethics when it was trying to be released over here, because it had adults beating up kids and, pro-Axis Nazism, and obviously from the bad guys, but people who were just hanging around and not exactly like the ones that the hero, quote unquote, beats up and things. But it really, really made a mark, Barefoot Gen. So that's the kind of stuff that they were putting out a lot. And where we lead into that is, I think, what is definitely considered the golden age of Weekly Shonen Jump. And that is from the 1980s into the early 90s. So this is where we're going to start seeing stuff that we're a little more aware of, even now. Now that even though the mangas have been finished for decades at this point, some of them, this is where we really start seeing the big heavy hitters, starting with iconic manga like Dragon Ball, Fist of the North Star, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Those all got their starts in, I think, the mid-'80s and ran all the way up through the mid-'90s. So at this point, we have gotten our circulation from, I think, somewhere around like 2 million to 6.53 million copies published in 1995 for a cycle. And that was fucking enormous at the time, to the point that they were already starting to release video games just about the magazine. So one of the fun parts of my research that I ran into was that 2 Famicom games were released to celebrate the 20th anniversary in 1988, and then another one in 1991 just for funsies. But the 88 one was called Famicom Jump Hero Retsuden and Famicom Jump 2 Saikyo no Shichinin, which were both RPGs similar to the games that you still see released now every once in a while, like was it Jump Stars,
Jump Force.
Jump Force, where it's basically just about recruiting all of the most popular characters from the magazine onto your team to fight evil and things like that. So, like in the first game, Hero Retsuden, you could recruit people like Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, Goku, Oral from Dr. Slump, Saint Seiya's Pegasus, Joseph Joestar, among like, I think those are out of 16 of just some of the most iconic characters to just go around and beat the shit out of bad guys. So it was cool that they had released that, and apparently it done pretty well and was considered a pretty good game. But yeah, that 80s into the early 90s is where things really started to kick off, and people were buying copies of the magazines, you know, in the millions every week, essentially, as they're copied. So, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and circulation began to decline starting in the mid 90s to late 90s. By 1998, they were only doing about 4 million copies in circulation. That was the first 30% drop, and then it took, to be fair, another almost 30 years to bottom out at 2 million annually in 2017. So obviously that, you know, 60% bottoming out there of their circulation. Now, obviously there are going to be like tons of different reasons for this, and some more obvious than others. But the two that I think are the easiest to point out without getting too in the weeds until, you know, maybe you guys can talk about it a little bit more, is first off, you know, we have starting in the mid 90s, the big feature magazine, like not magazines, but stories were finishing up. So you had Yu Yu Hakusho finishing in 94, Dragon Ball 95, Slam Dunk 1996. I think a version of JoJo's had ended at that time, though it started back up shortly thereafter. And I just don't think at that time there was really anything to take the place of these really big ones. So One Piece had just begun in 1997, and Hunter x Hunter in 1998, and Yu-Gi-Oh! In 1996. So those are 3 like big properties, but I don't really know for sure. Now, maybe I could look at that cool ranking page that I saw, but if those are really that popular at that point to carry the magazine, because it's just like, imagine what it was like in the 80s and 90s, and you just grabbed a random thing of Shonen Jump, and you're just like, I gotta get my Yu Yu Hakusho, my Dragon Ball, my Slam Dunk, my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all that stuff at once. Those are some big-ass shoes to fill. So, you know, obviously there's going to be a drop. And then there's the transition to digital, is the second one that I think is big too. And that was in 2014. So we were well into the decline of the magazine as a physical property at this point. But in 2014, they started the Shonen Jump Plus app. So at first, I think it wasn't quite like we see it today. You got some selections of things, as well as a couple new chapters of stuff. And I know, Kestrel, you had made a good point earlier about how this is where we also started to see some splintering too, because the online service would get exclusive comics that, at least in the beginning, Shonen Jump was publishing eventually in physical, like, bound volumes, but there was stuff that you could get on the app that wasn't in the magazine. And in the first 5 years of that app, it had been downloaded over 13 million times, with somewhere around 2.5 million active users at any given time. So obviously those are 2 big reasons why. Like, if you can get it digitally why would you keep buying it physically unless you were a collector? That's a lot of space. That's a lot of paper. That's, it's also more expensive, probably, considering I bet the app was cheaper if it's anything like it is over here. So that kind of brings us up to modern as far as I wanted to go for Weekly Shonen Jump, but I did want to touch briefly in this 2000s period because this is also when we saw our version of Shonen Jump come over here in 2002, though the first issue is marked 2003. So we got the first issue of our Shonen Jump, which was run by Viz and published monthly until March 2012. So the first issue had the first official translations of One Piece in Sandland, Naruto, Yu-Gi-Oh! Hakusho, and Yu-Gi-Oh!, as well as DBZ, though it wasn't the first time you could get that over here, I believe. But Goku is on the cover going Super Saiyan. It looks pretty badass. So that sold over 300,000 copies, and I think won an award for like Best Comic Product of the Year, and really started off that era strong. Monthly numbers remained strong for a long time. They sat at anywhere between 200 and like 250,000 issues per month, mainly from subscriptions and things rather than individual purchases. But that's really not bad considering what the market was like at the time. And then by the time they had done that last issue, Viz was already looking into its own digital distribution efforts and stuff as well. So I think they didn't do anything until 2018.
No, Shonen Jump Plus started, or Shonen Jump Alpha started right when the magazine concluded in 2012.
Okay, so they jumped right from one into the other, essentially. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a good decade of the Shonen Jump magazine. I'm sure everyone remembers that from like their local book fair in school who was in school during that time.
Every volume of it on my shelf.
I just turned to dust over here. Just want to let you know that.
Why? Because we were getting it from book fairs?
Yeah.
At school?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what year did that start again?
Started 2002, though the first volume was labeled as January 2023.
Yeah,
Not 2020, 2003.
I was in college. I had a subscription to that nonsense right away.
Yeah, I got the first year from like book orders and book fairs, and then I subscribed.
I was first time subscribed for the first couple of years. I wasn't. I don't want to say the stuff that they were publishing in there wasn't high on my list of stuff to get, but it was just like, this is really cool. I need to get this. So.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me the most when I was looking into this stuff was, despite being in print for 10 years, it only actually published 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think about 18 to 20 stories because they picked all the big, like, long-running heavy hitters. So it's just, you don't often see that where it's like, yep, we published this magazine for 10 years and we accomplished 18 things.
Yeah.
And four of them didn't finish. 4 or 5 of them didn't finish, including, of course, One Piece and Bleach.
Man, I can't believe they didn't finish One Piece. Come on.
You stepped on my joke. How dare you?
That reminds me of the major problem that the English edition of Shonen Jump had was that it wasn't weekly. Therefore, they had to publish multiple chapters at a time of some of these stories, so that it had less stories that they were translating per issue, so that they could put more stories out. And it was lagging behind so badly. I mean, it was another thing that kind of led to like One Piece just not fucking taking off over here is the slow pace of release, because they wouldn't put out things until they were in Shonen Jump and been translated. So,
well, okay, so of course they went with the greatest hits, which there was the first generation of that, as Kane mentioned, from the 80s to 90s, and then what specifically American millennials call the big three, which is not that much of a concept in Japan. But One Piece and Naruto were huge in Japan. Naruto and Bleach were huge in America for the aughts. And when this came out, it was several years into every series they were interested in publishing. So no matter what, even if you publish 4 or 5 chapters a month, you're not going to catch up. So they did, to their credit, for One Piece and Naruto. I think those were the only two. They did like catch up campaigns where they would release like 5-6 volumes of the manga, like full tankobon, every month for like 5-6 months until they were as caught up with Japan as you can be for, you know, a physical print publication. So they did their best, but yes, the fact is by that point...
It was a while before they did that.
Like, I mean, there were a few years. But yeah, at that point, people were already reading scanlations when they were coming out, so they had no choice but to pivot to digital because they were never going to release the physical magazine day and date, and those fans weren't going to pick it up anyway.
Also, there's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh on this, which is funny. I say there's out of the 18, there's 4 Yu-Gi-Ohs.
There's been a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh spinoffs, and one of the perks of the physical magazine, because, you know,
oh my
Americans
God, I've got so many of those cards.
Weren't exactly into, you know, buying physical products even by that point, but you got the Yu-Gi-Oh cards with them. So, yeah, that was a huge part of it.
My Yu-Gi-Oh card is still in the Shonen Jump volume I got from my 6th grade book fair.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I think that's one of the highest selling individual volumes, was one that it didn't have a card in it, but there was a volume that had a demo of a Yu-Gi-Oh PC game, and that sold over 500,000 copies.
Yep. Yeah, they had some interesting pack-ins in some of them.
When
they had like a demo of Dragon Quest VIII, they had a few like, here's the first dubbed episode of the series before the full one comes out. Yep.
When they stopped publishing the physical volume, and if you still had a subscription to the digital, they would fucking mail you the damn Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
They sure did.
It was amazing. Fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about everything that I got here, just for the quick little primer, because obviously now we have mainly the Shonen Jump app over here, and you know, the stuff that's popular running on that. You can read a lot of the historical, like their archives, their backlogs of a lot of this stuff. Like, I think you can read all the way through Yu Yu Hakusho. You can read all the way through Dragon Ball. You can read, I think you can read all the way through Yu-Gi-Oh, at least the original. I haven't looked at those ones in a while, but there is a lot of content on there to read. But obviously we have stuff that's running right now, and I know we wanted to talk a little bit about that, as well as kind of what the future holds for Shonen Jump, especially as we get into sort of another era where a lot of our big series like Demon Slayer are ending, and Shonen Jump needs to start digging into their bullpen a little bit to figure out who's gonna, you know, take the reins here, for better or for worse. But I think at first, I just kind of want to hear a little bit, because I know that, you know, he doesn't come on very often, but like, Mark, what is your like experience with the magazine itself, and kind of what your feelings are towards its current state?
Excuse me. Well, it's interesting because One Piece aside, of course, there seems to be like how do I want to put it, like a kind of like a shift almost in, you know, a lot of the we were sort of talking before. I don't know if they're big titles, you know, in the way that you think about things in the past, but you get things like Blue Box and stuff like that in there, which is not what you would traditionally, if you go back 30 years, what you would consider to be like, okay, this is something that you would anchor Shonen Jump on, or that it would even show up in Shonen Jump, for that matter. But you know, it does seem to be kind of something where they're, I don't know if following the trends is really what it is that I want to say, but it's not as the print medium died. They seem to have the way I look at it anyway, lost their identity. I don't know if that's the right way that I really want to say it, or maybe just change their identity. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Would others agree with that?
Yeah, I feel like we're at a time when, yeah, like you said, the things at the top of the popularity lists in Jump now aren't necessarily the type of just like straight up, shonen battle action for like young boys. It's not like that was the bread and butter for so long, and while that is still a marking of a lot of the current popular series, it's not necessarily it. So yeah, I would say the identity is shifting, kind of expanding.
I think I would counter that a little bit in that I think those are the series that we associate with Weekly Shonen Jump as consumers who have never had access to Weekly Shonen Jump until we had all series available as soon as they came out in Japan online. They have, like Kane was saying at the beginning, really, they have always had an incredibly diverse lineup. But the series that were successful, especially in the West, were especially once Dragon Ball came along and kind of set the formula that everyone else could follow.
Tone.
That was that formula that we associate with shonen manga and especially Jump. These other series have always existed. They've just never been available to us and never been on our radar. And now, as both of you have mentioned, there are fewer of the really popular, like, traditional shonen action series that we would normally think of. And so I think if it was still at the time that we only got the biggest hits that would appeal the most to Westerners, we would not be aware of nearly anything currently published in Jump.
Right. They're all waiting for One Piece to end so that they can step in and yeah. But no, I mean that's a really fair point. That was, as I said, like, I subscribed to our version of Shonen Jump when it first came out, despite the fact that things like Dragon Ball, Naruto, that sort of stuff never really held a great appeal to me. But I came from the era of, well, if it's here, I gotta read it. I don't care what it is, because we're only getting one of every 30 things that come out,
right.
And things like that. But now we've got obviously the apps, and of course Manga Plus is our version of Shonen Jump Plus. So we're getting things like Dan to Dan and that stuff as well. So great time to be following it. But yeah, it is sort of from our perspective anyway, such a more, feels like a more diverse time. But no, I'd be the stuff in the intro that we sort of talked about a little bit, the early stuff, like, I know that, but I don't know a lot of the rest of the stuff, maybe the not so big stuff that was there in the 70s and 80s. I'd be interested.
Yeah, especially like before Dragon Ball, because nearly everything that we're aware of after Dragon Ball has been following Dragon Ball's formula.
Yes.
So yeah, going back to the first few decades of Jump and being like, what made a shonen manga before Toriyama would be very interesting to explore.
Yeah, there's that. I do think the, like, being able to go into the vault on the Shonen Jump app is awesome, but there are some series that I've like heard about that I'm like, oh, I would love to read, like Rokudenashi Blues and like all these like.
Yeah, that was a big early one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of those you don't have access to on the app, and I get maybe it's because like why do we translate like this manga from the 80s that has 500 chapters and like maybe a couple hundred people will read it in English. Exactly. So
yeah. Don't worry, it'll all be AI translated soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got me to look up, I picked a random year, 1984 in Jump.
Literally the year Dragon Ball started.
Yep. Kochi Kama, Cobra, Kinnikuman Man, Dr. Slump, Captain Tsubasa, Cat's Eye, Black Angels, High School, and then at that point we start getting into stuff I've never heard of, at least until you get down to Fist of the North Star. But yeah, it's like, oh, Kimagure Orange Road. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, and then Dragon Ball came in there.
Yeah, Dragon Ball started in December, so that's why it's way at the bottom of the popularity, because it only had like 1 or 2 chapters there.
Yeah, it was like just starting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for classic manga, that's a banger lineup right there. I mean, that's a lot of...
I mean, they call it the golden age of the magazine for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got nothing but fucking Mike Tyson's in there.
God, that's right. Toriyama didn't even take a year off. Dr. Slump was still running in the same year that Dragon Ball started.
Yeah, it's like he took like a month off and then immediately started like Dragon Ball. It's stupid.
Which, as you can see, Dr. Slump was already like one of the most popular manga in Japan.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you finished number 4 this year.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And you finished number 4 with a series that only serialized for like a quarter of the year. Yeah, Coach Kame we didn't mention, but that was, until just a few years ago, by far the longest running and oldest Jump title. Because that had like 2,000 chapters, like never took a week off.
Yeah,
I always remember when Jump was first getting like Uniqlo collabs here, and like they do all like, you know, the big ones that everyone here would want, like Dragon Ball, One Piece, Bleach, and then you get Kochikame, and people are like, who is this guy?
Yeah, it is really interesting seeing like the cultural touchstones in Japan that no one in America has any idea about. Like, you know, your Kochikame, Doraemon,
your Sazai-san.
Sazai-san, yeah, exactly. But yeah, speaking of, you know, the oldest titles, I like to bring this up every time a relatively long-running Jump series ends, because they're just, you know, all the old ones have ended except One Piece. So at present, since in the past year or two, we've seen the end of pretty much all of the other big titles, it's kind of safe to say, you know, JJK, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, somehow they let end right when it became popular, when the anime came out.
That was insane to me. How does that happen?
I know, and I want to talk about that a little bit too. But currently, the longest running series in Jump is, of course, One Piece from the 90s. Every other series in Jump started in the 2020s.
Post 2020, it's crazy.
Yeah. We have no series from the 2000s, no series from the 2010s, only 90s and 2020s.
Is Hunter x Hunter still counted as normal Jump, even if it's
Hunter x Hunter doesn't count?
Okay,
but it is kind of counts. But yeah,
I mean, yes, Hunter x Hunter was from '98.
It is the other sole survivor of the '90s when it's actually publishing.
Technically, but when you get one chapter every few years, it's not really worth discussing in the same way.
I love how like literally Togashi goes radio silent for like 9, 10, 11 months, and then he posts like a picture of like the corner of like a work in progress. It's like, guys, I'm still making it, and he gets like 300,000 likes on Twitter, and everyone's like, oh, it's coming back.
Yeah.
Dude, just get some assistance to draw it for you, man. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But
stop torturing yourself.
After One Piece, not counting Hunter x Hunter, the longest running, or the oldest current Jump series is Me and Roboco.
Me and Roboco.
Which is especially hilarious, not only because it's an absurd gag manga, but because it's specifically an absurd gag manga built on parodying Jump, and it's now the second oldest Jump series.
Yeah.
And then after
eventually it's got to start parodying itself.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But yeah, every single volume cover is like a redone cover of a Jump series.
Which I do love, yeah.
Yeah. And well, that's the thing too, is like you said, Sakamoto Days and Roboco, like late 2020 is like the last time like a series has been running that long. And Sakamoto Days, from what people are saying, is like coming to an end soon too. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And that has, that looked like one of the potential next big hits. Anime didn't look great, so
Nope.
I don't think it quite took off like they were hoping it would. I mean, I'm sure they knew, looking at it, that it was not going to be Demon Slayer or JJK, because a huge part of the popularity of that is just how gorgeous they are.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like I recently tried catching back up with Sakamoto Days anime, and it took them like 16 to 17 episodes to like finally get one that looked pretty good. And I was like, okay, we're starting to cook a little late, but yeah, I also so I started using the current Shonen Jump app like right around 2020. So like I hopped on Sakamoto Days and like Witch Watch, Me and Roboco, like a lot of the and like Akane Banashi, Ruru Dragon, like right when they first started coming out. And it's funny because I dropped Roboco like maybe 200 chapters in. I was just like reading it to read it. I was like, there's no other like gag manga that are really like doing it in Shonen Jump right now, and I needed to like diversify it a bit, but
200 weeks of surely the plot's coming this week.
No, exactly. But I think I wanted to bring up a point that during Kane's history lesson, thank you, Kane Pachi Sensei, you mentioned a point in like the mid 90s when a lot of the big hitters were ending, and there was like no way to know like who would be the next like flag bearer. And then, of course, bam, One Piece drops. And then, bam, like a couple of years later, like Naruto and all these other big ones that end up becoming, like you said, Kestrel, the big three in the West. But I feel like, since the end of like JJK and My Hero, that's kind of where we are, where their Jump is as diverse now as it always has been. But I feel like it is lacking like the flag bearer. Aside, One Piece will always have the asterisk there, but we are there's always just like a who's gonna be the next big one. And I mean, there are contenders, but it's hard to ever know like if these things will ever get the worldwide acclaim that some of these other ones get. I think one of the contenders is Kagurabachi, but that's still to be seen. I mean, it's maybe 50, 60, 70 chapters in, and I think it is really good, 90. But is it in 90? Okay.
I think it hit 90 this week, yeah.
But, and I mean, I love that. I think it is one of the best action stories in Jump right now, but I mean, it's hard to say if something can reach the level of like One Piece again.
I mean, I think we were talking about this a little bit, I think, before you jumped on. For Kagurabachi, it's been like everyone's had their eyes on it since it started, and the question has just always been, when the anime comes out, how's it going to hit? Because that's what it kind of takes at this point in time, especially. And I think, with a lavish anime adaptation, it could be the next big hit. Because there's nothing necessarily about, Demon Slayer or JJK that couldn't be really replicated in popularity for Kagurabachi.
Yeah, I think what puts magazines like Shonen Jump and a lot of these manga magazines that is unfortunately unique is, One Piece started in 1997, which isn't that long after like Slam Dunk ended in 96. That one high school one brand that you said you wanted to read that ended in 1997 or 96, one of those 2 years, another long running one. But these magazines release weekly, so 2 years is 24 issues of product. So it makes that gap feel extra long, and it can kind of put some urgency to find whatever is going to be the next big thing, because it's just like
2 years 24. That would be if it was monthly. 2 years is 52.
Oh, sorry, 52. So it'd be I did bad math. It'd be 104.
104. Yeah,
104.
It's not like everything was derelict and a wasteland. I mean, It's so funny looking at it now because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was carrying so much water for the magazine for so long. Well deserved, to be fair. Well deserved. But yeah, I just pulled up the year One Piece started. As my cat is going lunatic here. Hold on a second. You go be naughty elsewhere.
No, actually, be misbehaving here.
Marched in here, screamed at me, and then started throwing shit on the floor. I'm like, what are you, drunk? All right, yeah, so let's see. Koshikama, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Bastard. A couple series I've never heard of. Dropped down to Kenshin. Yeah, Hoshinengi, I know that came out in English, and Yu-Gi-Oh! So, there was a little bit of a lull. But man, JoJo's and Bastard were holding up the magazine for a while, and Kenshin. So many people came off of Kenshin. So many people.
And I know it wasn't a wasteland, but it's also hard to argue against. They went from 6 million subscribers to 4 million in 2 years.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
When that happened. That's not good no matter how you slice it. Even if there is still good stuff in there, it's just... Yeah, Kenshin is good, sure, but it's not Dragon Ball. It's not Slam Dunk, which we get Slam Dunk shit now. We just got like that movie a year ago, and that manga's been done for fucking almost 30 years. And it's basketball, like... I was being a little dramatic.
Was the biggest shit in Japan.
Yeah, of course I'm being dramatic about like the lack of heavy hitters, but there is something to say about you lose 30% of your readership in about 2 years. There just wasn't anything there.
It's just that the highs were so high at the time. Compared to now, it's like, I'll take those mid-90s series back. We don't got much going on right now.
Yeah, it's funny how this reflects like, and obviously the Nielsen ratings don't really. I don't know if they still do a good job with streaming stuff at this point, but it's funny when you read about like the Super Bowl did X amount of viewers or the halftime show or whatever, pick a random thing, and they'd be like, that would be the worst show on air in the 90s and the 80s and stuff, and now people are like, man, that's fucking amazing. They got 2 million people?
It's the whole dilution of the market because there's so many different things out there that you can be this streaming service, broadcast and cable, and you add all that together, and the piece of this pie for everybody is so much smaller.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna. I was kind of curious about listening to you guys talk about this. Like, how much of this is that there's not as good stuff coming out versus how much of it is there's just so much more of it coming out that our attention is divided.
Yeah, so I think that's huge. Honestly, I'm just gonna say, like, just personally, having way more hobbies than I should, I'm following like between 12 to 15 weekly Shonen Jump manga, and for me, it's taxing to keep up weekly because I'm also, I love video games. I'm keeping up with like music releases, trying to see movies when they come out. Like there is too much stuff. We are very oversaturated in all media forms.
And I feel, like because of that, we're being encouraged not to really engage with things. Right. Like, and granted, some of it is getting older and, I don't have the patience for as much stuff, but I'm also consuming a lot more, because of the apps and because of the access to stuff like that, stuff I read 20 years ago is very vivid. Like I can recall it because it was like, hey, I read 3 things this year. I mean, I read, whatever. Whereas now it's like I'm reading 20 things at any given moment. Like I can't keep straight what I read yesterday. So
that's so true. And I think part of that also influences how quick we are to judge things. And I think this might stand to how Jump is treated now, where like a new manga is added to the magazine and you maybe have 5 to 10 weeks to figure it out or you're canceled. And it's hard to I guess for me personally to like frame that compared to how it was in the old magazine, but just like nowadays it feels like you're immediately under the scrutiny needle like the second you're in the magazine, and it's do or die at every moment.
Yeah,
I was gonna try to pull that up, the information, because One Piece was not a massive hit at the beginning. It was pretty mid-list for a while, years, until they got to, finally started getting towards the end of the East Blue stuff. And then it finally started picking up, but it was like, mid-list, just hanging out in the mid-list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, again, it's a little bit of a different perspective. One, we have it all available to us now. For decades, a normal thing for a Japanese citizen, whether they're, a elementary schooler or a salaryman, is you would pick up your Jump from your convenience store once a week and read through it on the train or whatever. So it was always, everything was there for you. You had your 2025 series. And now we are finally getting all of them at once. But they're also getting the digital distribution, which I guess ironically kind of allows them to pick and choose in the way that we were always kind of presented these series. And now we're getting them all together for the first time. So there is a little bit of a different way that it's consumed. And also the Shonen Jump Plus service does have a lot of its own series. And I'd say, the bigger series maybe at this point, other than One Piece, as always, are Jump Plus and not Jump proper. So you have like Spy Family, Don Chainsaw Man moved to Jump Plus for its second part. So it's definitely, they're kind of putting some of the more popular stuff on the online only platform. And in terms of the stuff that's in the magazine proper, it's definitely, I feel like it's maybe always been the case. Maybe it's worse now that you got a few months and then you're getting the axe if it's not popular. I think it's probably always been the case. And again, it's just exposure to us now. We get to see them all from chapter 1. So we would never see the series that was canceled after 2 volumes back in those days, because it was canceled for a reason. It wasn't popular. That's part of it.
We were only getting the cream of the crop for a long time, and now it's like, oh no, you get the same fire hose that everybody else gets.
Exactly. And also, I feel like, yes, stuff that's not popular is canceled immediately, but kind of the whole Jump editorial paradigm for decades was you have to keep going forever as long as you're popular, and then as soon as you're not popular, you get canceled. It seems like they're letting mangaka end their series, which was never a thing before. Like we mentioned, Demon Slayer became the biggest thing in the world and then ended in the manga like a few months later. JJK, extremely popular. My Hero Academia, extremely popular. A bunch of these series, the reason why it seems like we're kind of in a dead zone now is that these series are just ending when traditionally you wouldn't expect that the editors would let the creators end them. And I think that's a good thing, because if a creator wants to end their series, they should be allowed to. And it always seemed kind of exploitative that they were forced to just keep them going as long as they were popular. So it seems like a good thing in that sense, but it does leave them with kind of slim pickings. And I also think that it kind of feels similar, and maybe it's also just kind of the general nature of we expect things to be shorter now. But it kind of goes along with the trend of the weekly Shonen Jump anime adaptations being in seasonal chunks now, instead of them also being just infinitely ongoing every week for decades, except One Piece, which still is. But it kind of follows the same trend of it doesn't need to be a constant presence in your life, probably because people have so many other distractions now. So we have these short chunks that we want you to really engage with. And, I feel like we're seeing a similar pattern on the manga side where, we want a really popular series for a few years. It doesn't need to be for 20 years.
Yeah.
I think Oh, no, you can go.
Okay. I was going to say, I mean, just speaking from personal experience, I can say exactly that. It's if I find a manga or something that looks interesting, I look it up and it's like, oh, this is 300 chapters. This one's only 25. I'll give this one a shot. For me, that's definitely true.
And it probably, go ahead, Kate.
I think there's also the loss of momentum that they always like fear of something, taking a break or going on hiatus, no matter how burned out or how sick the mangaka might be. I think it's proven not to be true that if something is popular and it goes on hiatus for a while and then comes back, it still sells just as well. And I think Hunter x Hunter proved that. And I've seen other series that have gone on hiatus for like 10 years, 12 years, and they come back and they still sell 130,000 copies of a book. If it was popular, then it's going to remain popular. So they don't really have much of a leg to stand on anymore. If they're like, no, you have to work till you're dead. It's like, no, it's more profitable if you let them live and just, have other people to pick up the slack while they are recuperating and recharging, and please stop killing people. Thank you.
I think it would maybe, and I think Jump Plus is actually like bi-weekly, maybe.
A lot of them are.
Yeah, they range because it's an app, so you don't have to put out a magazine. You can have whatever schedule you want. I think that's good in a lot of ways. So it makes sense that a lot of their new hit series, not that they necessarily know they'll be hits from the beginning, are on the online platform because, one, the creators get to take a little bit more time in putting them out, and two, that's kind of where the eyeballs, certainly the young eyeballs that they've always been trying to reach, are going to be, is on, online platforms, apps on your phone. It makes sense that the magazine proper, they're maybe not putting as much stock in, we need to have these huge behemoths making sure that every kid and every salaryman buys every issue every week in a convenience store, because that's not necessarily the most important market anymore.
No, I mean, Manga Plus gets my $2 every month whether I open it or not, so
$2 well spent.
That's right.
It's definitely one of the better deals in entertainment you can work with. Like, you get access to so many things. Granted, as Brian was saying earlier, you don't get it. You don't get everything. Obviously, even some of the bigger hits you don't have access to. But like a lot of the stuff that really was successful in the West, you can. And I don't know. I've never gotten close. So I don't know if you guys have, but even their like reading limit is pretty generous as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's 100 chapters a day or something.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, Bran, when you were catching up on One Piece, did you hit that?
I didn't, thankfully, but yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Is that I was able to, a few summers ago, catch up on One Piece in a few months, and I do not even want to like imagine how much it would have cost me to like buy every volume of One Piece to catch up.
God, if you could even.
Yeah. So
they got those big old box sets.
They do.
Get a couple of those
3-in-1 editions, maybe on a sale, fell off the back of a truck. Your local library. There's always your local library.
And
your local library is going to have like volume 16 and nothing else.
That's why you got to have a good library network. So you ensure that at least then you're just on a waiting list, and then
Yeah, and for the collectors, even in Japan, as Kane mentioned, this magazine has been going every week for 57 years. So it's not like even a thing that is that feasible to collect.
No, it's impossible. They call them phone books for a reason.
Right. It has traditionally been that you there have been a lot of episodes of Gintama that involve like putting out your weekly Shonen Jumps on trash burning day because they're just disposable. You pick them up to read your series for the week, and if you want to collect your favorite series, then you buy the tankobon.
And you buy the tankobon,
yeah. So I think I mean, maybe this is blasphemous to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if Weekly Shonen Jump, the physical manga, doesn't exist in a few years. But I guess Japan still publishes like most of their classic magazines, manga or otherwise. So I guess there's some audience, but I don't know if they need it anymore.
Yeah. I don't think that's too hard of a take.
It could be like they did. What did they do? One of those demographic polls where they were like, "Yeah, like 25% of our audience is over the demographic we're aiming for age-wise." Mm-hmm. So like, it wasn't. They're like, age bracket of like teenage boys, and it was like 25% of our audience is over the age of 28, and it was like, ooh, okay, that could be a problem, but that might just be Japan's aging demographic.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the aging demographic of One Piece.
No, it's like well, true, probably part of it, but we all know Japan's declining birth rate situation, contracting population. It's like, maybe kids isn't your lead demographic anymore. You might have to start shifting at some point.
Yeah, it is funny, like... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, like, looking back on Jump Street, this is a magazine for 10-year-old boys. The number of series that are, like, absolutely 18 plus from a Western perspective is just incredible how they got published. Because it's not like, an online platform. These were in pages next to your legitimate 10-year-old boy manga. You would have
you don't want them,
Tolovru.
Yeah, you don't want them reading Fist of the North Star and Space Invaders.
Fist of the North Star,
Cobra.
like it. It Cobra, exactly. Like, I mean, even Demon Slayer, which is like pretty normal, is like an R-rated movie in America because you've got people's heads chopped off every chapter, and Tolovru is like nearly pornography. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah, so, well, that's how it worked from the very beginning. Because
exactly.
The Go Nagai thing, Horenshi Gakuen. If you look up its Wikipedia or whatever, it just says something like, high schoolers getting in sexy, naughty fun in rebellion against their teachers. Like,
right, it was like the first ecchi manga. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, and that was what they led with. That was their fucking lead-off batter. Was check this shit out. And
I love the fact.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was its big thing for the creators as well. It was like, oh, you're just gonna let us do that? Like you're not gonna, overly censor our work or tailor our work to whatever your perceived demographic is. And the Weekly Shonen Jump, and especially in the 80s when Hiroki Goto was the chief editor, he basically said, like, man, we're not competing against just other manga. He essentially said, like, we're competing against, like, rumor tabloids and, like, every other magazine. So we'll just do whatever until someone tells us to stop.
Yeah.
So
nobody ever did.
Nope.
I love the fact
so no comics code stuff is what you're saying.
No, they did not. Not really. Now, Barefoot Gen did get a lot of, like, this is leftist propaganda shit when it came out.
Right.
And then the Comics Code did fuck.
Empire.
Yeah, and then Comics Code did fuck with it too when they tried to publish it over here because of the, horrific depictions of war violence and everything inside of it. But at least as far as the magazine themselves and Hiroki Goto and all the other editors up to that point were concerned, they were like, nah, we see the talent here. We're going to try to let it blossom in however it does. So maybe they should do something similar. Like, how about you get some people in there with like some really fucked up like creations and just see what sticks. Push the envelope. Like let's get a little creative up in here with what we're gonna try and show and see what we can and can't get away with. Return to those roots a little bit.
Yeah, but the internet, maybe if the internet keeps getting more and more locked down, like it seems to be happening lately, that might come back into the picture. But I mean, you can get anything on the internet now. You want your weird naughty comics? They're all over the place.
And I think yeah.
I was just gonna say to answer your. I think Kester, you had mentioned it earlier about the physical copies not being around. Potentially, like you could see that happening. It looks like they still circulate a little over 1 million copies a week physically. So there is still a gradual decline. So I don't think you're too far off there, because 2017 was a little over 2 million, and then another 4 years after that, 1.3. And now they're circulating around 1 million or so. So there's definitely a gradual decline. Now, if it ever goes away entirely, who's to say? Like, libraries are always going to want copies and stuff like that. But
I'm sure they still want that ad revenue. They run ads in that magazine. God knows what those rates are. They're probably really high. So they're probably bringing in a nice chunk of change to cover the production cost just on the ads, and that's gravy on top. That's where money's coming from.
There's always going to be disgruntled weekly readers or collectors. So if anything, just slash production to meet that lower like physical need. I mean,
which I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it is kind of like, advertising to the casual fan who isn't necessarily going to seek out the platform. But if they see something flashy on the cover when they're in the convenience store, they might pick it up and flip through. And then, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I do think one thing that has changed over the years is, and this is certainly the case for American comics, but we're definitely seeing it in the past decade or so for Jump, is that they are kind of vehicles for anime adaptations. It used to be that Jump anime adaptations, because they were weekly, not that stops One Piece now, but they were mostly pretty low quality week to week. And it was just kind of, an ever-present dual, manga and anime would both be coming out every week. It would just be always on your mind. Now that they're focusing on high-quality seasonal or film adaptations, they're just tremendously popular. And so it's always been the case that anime adaptations, especially of Jump manga or manga in general, a huge part of the point of them has been to advertise the source material and sell more copies. But now especially, it's just, and the worldwide reach is a big part of this. It's just so much, how do we get the next, huge anime hit? Because once that anime hits and it's popular, those manga sale numbers are going to go up tenfold immediately. So I think that's what every new manga is shooting for at this point, is, can this be a hit anime? Because that's the only way we're going to sell a huge number of copies.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if that you get that whole creative process by committee situation going on, where it's just we're looking at the statistical demographic breakdown, and you need a character who yells a lot. if we're gonna have a good anime, you need a character who's gonna yell a lot. So pick one of them and make them yell now, and stuff like that. So I wonder if that comes into it as well, because obviously, there are formulas to this, whether we choose to like it or not. And sometimes I could see that getting in the way of whatever the original creators would want to do. I do agree it's nice that they can end their own manga. I also just wish the endings were better. So
yeah,
as a brand,
I feel like when they know they have an ending, let's just do it. Let's just fucking end it, dude. I can't remember the last one that I really enjoyed, at least for a long running hit in Jump.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was saying off the pod that Yeah, Kaiju number 8 recently ended, and it was just such a nothing burger of and everything was okay, and everyone was good, and nothing was resolved, but everyone gets a good ending. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
You gotta love it.
Now,
it is
how
interesting.
much of that is writers not knowing how to end their work versus the way storytelling works differently in the East versus the West?
I think there's definitely some merit to that. I've thought of similar things, just pondering how this is happening, because I know there are also certain manga out there that they'll start and the mangaka's been like, well, I knew what I was going to do for the first 10 chapters.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's like, I didn't expect this to be that popular, so I didn't plan anything after that, so I'm almost flying by the seat of my pants, which obviously, how could you have a good ending except by sheer luck that you just happen to fall into it during your planning process, rather than having something that you have a beginning, middle, and end. But I can also imagine there's risk to that too, because you could spend the time as a creator being like, okay, here's the beginning, here's our first, big inciting incident, and here's the first twist, and here's the second twist, and then this is what happens in the middle, and etc., only for the publishers or the board of Shonen Jump, whoever makes those decisions, the editors, to be like, you're just going to get the beginning and now give us something else.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a risk in investing that much time. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the benefits of, this new age of giving creators more scheduling freedom and more time to actually come up with their story instead of just write it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Fujimoto has planned how Chainsaw's going to end, but at the very least, he has 2 weeks to come up with the craziest shit I've ever read. Every 2 weeks.
And he gets, he got a hiatus between the first part and the second part, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that definitely helps. Yeah, traditionally, what we would hear about the Jump editorial process is, you got to pump out 20 pages every week, and like I said, you have no idea if your series is going to be 1 volume or 100 volumes. It's entirely dependent on how popular it is in those little user surveys every week. So you just gotta go week to week, and it's really hard to plan because there are tons of situations where a creator has a really great idea, but they have 1 volume of really great idea, and then they have no idea what to do with it, and it ends up just becoming the same formula that everything else is. And then you have plenty of other cases where they might have had a great several hundred chapters of story planned out, but you got a few volumes and then it got canceled, so you never got to see the rest.
I will say one of my favorite bits when I was still reading the Roboco manga is that the time to time they would meet with one of the Shonen Jump editors, and he was the most deplorable character in the cast, and often depicted in nothing but his underwear. He's super dirty, and he's chained up a lot of the time. So they're even able to just they'll be we don't really run the tightest ship here.
And that has been a time-honored tradition as well, because the first major villain of Dr. Slump back in 1980 was directly Toriyama's editor.
Yeah.
So while we
have you saved Jump?
Yes, I was just gonna ask, while we sort of wrap things up for the evening, I just kind of wanted to get each of your distilled opinions on the future of Jump, and just kind of obviously from armchair quarterback style, I think they're fine if they do this, or anything like that. Or you could just be like Hestra and be like, I saved Jump in this hour and 45 minutes.
We saved Jump.
That's true. That's true. Now I just need the check to come in.
Yep.
True.
I think in my humble opinion, that because they've already figured out the whole digital thing, they're not in any danger of going anywhere. Even if readership drops, if they have to stop publishing a physical edition, or if, there will be Jump in some format for the foreseeable future. And I don't just mean until One Piece ends. I mean, past that. Because, like I said, they already have the digital thing figured out. And because they use it so much now as a vehicle to, for anime, that to make adaptations and all the marketing and all that stuff around it and all the merchandise, they don't really have to, rely specifically on, getting the thing that's gonna run for bazillion years, and put all their eggs in that one basket of the thing that is going to run for a zillion years. Because it turns out it's better not to burn out your artists, and maybe they could go on to create a second thing that could be just as popular if you give them the chance. Or let them step down and have somebody else who's young and, not dying at their desk to, pick up and move on. And like I said, there's always assistants. And those assistants will have their own manga someday, and that will be the next big thing. Mm-hmm. So, I don't think, in general, anything will change in the interim unless the entire world blows up, which is totally a possibility. But
I think that's more likely than anything we've discussed.
Yeah.
I got that scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not so worried about Shonen Jump, all things considered.
Yeah, I agree, and they seem to be, again, speaking of the anime adaptation bit. I mean, yeah, okay, take One Piece out of the equation. They still seem to be one of the stronger ones in terms of getting stuff out there, and maybe none of it is a Dragon Ball Z. But when you've got things like Don to Don, Spy Family, Witch Watch, and stuff like that like it seems like they've always got something in the works that's getting out there and getting in front of the public face in sort of every way that they can. They seem to be, as Kate said, they're not necessarily relying on the one thing to really be massive anymore, but rather kind of taking a collective, and that to me seems pretty strong.
Yeah, I think
go ahead.
Yeah. It would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to have a hot take, I'd say, on the state of Jump. Like, it's not dying, and it's not like hitting its stride in its like new golden era, but yeah, it's fine. And I think there are a lot of good prospects in the near future with Akane Bana. She just got an anime announced, and I think that's one of the sleeper hits in the magazine right now that I think could do really well as an anime. As I mentioned, once Kagurabachi gets an anime announcement, and if they really put their horsepower into it, could be as big as a, like a JJK. Ichi the Witch, I just recently caught up on. Another big contender, I feel, for like a hit series. And I've been saying for probably months that, like, why haven't they made a baseball manga? Because baseball is at like a height of popularity right now, and Shohei Ohtani is like the face of the MLB and the biggest star in the world in Japan. And now we have Harukaze Mound, which, only a handful of chapters out, but could be another potential big hit. So yeah, I think it's hard with the perspective of saying like, we don't, like, there may never be another One Piece again, or like we might not get another Naruto level thing because it hasn't happened yet. And I'd like to believe that there's always potential for someone to write some like batshit insane or new or reinventive story that takes us to that level again. So I'd like to hope that it's still blue skies.
Yeah, I think the concept of Weekly Shonen Jump, the manga magazine that has permeated Japanese pop culture for 50 years, maybe not exactly what we're going to get in the future. I think that's fine. It's definitely a rough patch in terms of the magazine proper for big new series. They've let a lot of the big ones end, and I think that's a good thing. I think in terms of what's running right now, it is all down to the anime adaptation. I think Sakamoto Days could have been it if they had a better adaptation. I think Kagurabachi has a great shot. And yeah, prioritizing the digital side, even if it's a much newer platform, only 10 years old or whatever, it's something that might just kind of replace Weekly Shonen Jump in terms of the vehicle from which we get the big popular hits, because we're going to keep getting them from somewhere, and Shueisha certainly wants it to keep being from them and from their flagship platform, and that doesn't need to be the weekly magazine anymore. It can be an online platform, and I think that makes sense for our current state of entertainment and media distribution. So yeah, it's possible that in a few years we will look back on this conversation and be like, wow, I can't believe we thought Jump was dead when they had X running already. It just hasn't hit that level yet. So you never know. Maybe Ping Pong Peril is the next One Piece. Next Dragon Ball.
Nice prison.
Nice prison.
I think we can confidently say that's not going to be anybody's future. Jump will be okay as long as they don't try to make something that nobody gives a shit about the next big thing. What was that manga that they were pushing really hard and the dude ended up being like a scumbag?
Okay, so Toriko, you talking about Toriko?
Which one?
Yes, that one, yes.
Build King?
What was Build King?
Is that the Toriko guy's newer one? Unless he made another one.
Does he have another? I mean, I think Kay was talking about Toriko, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
They were trying to push that so. They were trying to push that and so hard when they were out. It was like, go away, stop it. Stop trying to make the thing.
Is that the food one? There's like somehow.
They tried to make it the next Dragon Ball / One Piece, to the point that actual numbered episodes of One Piece are crossovers with Toriko. And one of the only new pieces of Dragon Ball anime in like the early 2010s was a crossover with One Piece and Toriko. But just to put this out there, it would be nice to think that they tried to push Toriko and then it turned out that the mangaka was a fucking creep. But no, he was arrested for child prostitution 6 years before Toriko started. They knew it about this guy. And then they gave him a new series and tried to make him the next One Piece. Yeah, it's real bad.
I mean, this is an unknown behavior from some Jump bigs. I mean, we got Rurouni Kenshin still like getting like art designs from every current Jump author,
Yeah,
like,
getting exhibits, getting a new anime adaptation, getting continued spin-offs.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
God, Japan.
But if one of them smoked weed, done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Career
Fuck
over.
Priorities.
That joint better be made of child pornography.
I don't think I'm going to call that the episode title, but it was quite the episode title.
We won't be doing that.
I think that's just the edge I was talking about earlier.
I think we're going to have to start talking about the state of Fandom Post Radio. No future?
With that, does anybody have any recommendations? As we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, I got a good one, and it is a new one-shot manga in Shonen Jump that you can read right now.
Great plug, very nice.
Yeah, I know.
Excellent.
If you recently watched and enjoyed the Takopi's Original Sin anime, the creator of that, Taizan 5, just put out a one-shot in Jump called Fighting Girls. It's about 70 pages long. Really cute, fun little story. So I'd recommend going and reading that.
Yeah, let's see. I mentioned before, G-Kids has all of those anime and some not anime films on HBO Max, formerly known as Max, formerly known as HBO Max. And they are putting out some of those in movie theaters as well, and some new 4K Blu-ray releases. So all of the Hosoda movies, all of the good standalone Hosoda movies have been coming out in theaters. So Boy and the Beast is out literally right now. Girl Who Leapt Through Time's coming out next month. Summer Wars was last month. Wolf Children was earlier in the year. Boy and the Beast, actually, we don't really know what's going on with the rights for that at the moment. Just as a little tangent here, I saw it in theaters last night, and it was originally announced with those other three that G-Kids was acquiring it, and then the theatrical release came out and it was being done by Crunchyroll, and everyone was very surprised. I went to see it last night. It had a Crunchyroll logo, and then it had a Funimation Films logo.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wait,
Funimation's coming back, guys. You heard it here.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, the other three, Wolf Children, 4K Steelbook, just arrived a couple weeks ago. And Girl Who Leapt Through Time also coming out, I think, next month. And Summer Wars came out a few months ago. So, yeah, recommend all of those. And if you have not already, tickets are available for Demon Slayer, the movie Infinity Castle. It broke all of our pre-sale records for the year. So, yeah, pretty insane, pretty huge. Crashed our servers for a bit. Check that out when it comes to theaters in September.
It crashed Kestrel's servers specifically.
Yeah, my home servers, yes.
Well, in the vein of all the films that are going to Max, there, one that you slid past very quickly earlier, and quite rightly so, if I'm honest about it, is Fireworks. Which is, I'm not sure is actually a very good movie, but for some reason, every time I watch it, it puts me in a weird mood and makes me very philosophical for a few days. Like I can't shake that movie whenever I sit down and watch it. So I don't know that I recommend it because I don't know that it's any good, but I certainly get something out of it. So take that for what you will.
Hey, that's what matters in the end. If it's good to you or it gives you something. Though I do always love a recommendation that starts with, I don't actually know if this is a good idea or not. But
You're like, this movie made me feel something, but I'm not sure what that something is.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you guys invited me to join in, and my immediate response was, I don't know that this is a good idea. So, the whole premise of tonight's show began with that. So there we go.
It's appropriate, yeah.
Splendid. Well, I guess, to keep with the theme of the episode, I would just say I would just recommend paying Shonen Jump $2 and reading whatever you want and making your own judgment call on that. Worst case, you're out $2 or $3. I think they're raising the price soon, which, of course,
it's like $3 now.
Now it's incredible. Now it's unaffordable. Can't do it anymore. But
also, just to mention we didn't really make this distinction, but so there's Weekly Shonen Jump, there's Shonen Jump Plus, which is Japanese platform. There is do they also just call it Weekly Shonen Jump now? Viz's Shonen Jump platform. And then there is Shueisha's English, mostly Jump platform, which is Manga Plus. And I think for both of those English platforms, it's $2 or $3 to read the back catalog, but you get all the new chapters, the 3 newest of every series, for free. So if you just want to catch up with a series, you never have to pay again. Once you're caught up.
Yep, basically. And you can just read for free. The new stuff.
Yeah, which is also a huge thing too. So yeah, if you just want to be like, Spy Family is my shit, you could just spend the $3 for a month to get caught up, and then that's all you would ever have to do if all you cared about was Spy Family and reading it and staying with the zeitgeist when it comes to that. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. So I think we'll wrap it up by Kestrel letting us know, letting us and the listeners, I guess, know where we can always find you, as well as the podcast.
And that, I guess, sounded like, I don't know, some sort of tsundere promoting your product. Like, I guess if you want to check it out. It's not like I really want you to subscribe or anything.
No, fucking baka.
Fucking baka. Yeah, so you can find Fandom Post Radio wherever you find podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music. You can subscribe to our RSS feed if you want. You can find us on fandompost.com. Episodes will be embedded in the articles there. You can follow us on your favorite evil social media platform. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky at Fandom Post Radio. You can be less supportive of evil social media platforms and email us, fandompostradio@gmail.com. Tell us what the future of Jump is. Tell us what the solution is. Tell us what the next big hit is.
Tell us if Jump is saved.
Yes. Did we save Jump?
Did we save
why
Jump?
We saved it. We need to know. Yes. And why Nice Prison is going to be the best-selling anime film of 2026. And yeah, I'm on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma and Blue Sky, KestrelSwift.bsky.social. Do I have anything interesting published that I haven't talked about yet? I don't think so. I've got a few interviews on Anime NYC this weekend, so soon.
Fun.
Soon.
You can find me at Hellshay Brando on all the evil socials, but I am slowly disengaging with those evil socials, so catch me while you can.
Hey. Am I up? I'm up.
Yep.
Okay.
Kate, your turn.
You can find me on Blue Sky at SonicBug. You can find my reviews at fandompost.com, where I am writing about Ruri Rocks and Secrets of the Silent Witch, both of which continue to be very good. Secrets of the Silent Witch is kind of flying through the material, but it's not extremely apparent that they're cutting stuff out to a layman. But I mean, I very much like those light novels, so I know what they're cutting out, but it still remains good. And Ruri Rocks is ridiculous, and you should watch that. And yeah, the girls found their sapphires they were looking for.
They found the rocks.
They found the rocks, and then they moved on to the next rocks. They've picked up a 4th girl in their group, who is also very into rocks, and that episode made me cry. So, yeah, this show goes way too hard for what it's doing. So check that out. That was my one recommendation. Check out Ruri Rocks.
Nice. All right.
I want to check out. Yeah, I want. Sorry, go on.
I was saying, Mark, you're up to bat. So if you have any socials or anything, or let us know.
Well, I'll just say, like, I've been looking at your reviews of Ruri Rocks. That is a show I definitely want to catch up on. That looks, that, as you said, way better than it has any right to be, is what it looks like. So
I mean, I might be a little biased because I do like to go look for rocks, and the most recent episode was just them like looking for fucking sea glass on the beach for like no real reason other than they were like cool old bottles. I'm like, these are my people.
Yeah,
the show was made
why
for
not?
me.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So anyway, you can find me on Blue Sky at MD Thomas, though I also don't really post a whole lot. But you can find my reviews at Fandom Post as well, where I am currently reviewing My Dress Up Darling and Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus. And I am currently still, 7 weeks in, pissed off that I'm not reviewing The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, because Netflix has delayed it. So
Netflix jail.
Yeah, we're still in jail.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was really kind of looking forward to the Cloverworks triple header. I thought that was going to be great, and everywhere in the world is getting it except us. So thanks, Netflix.
Thanks, Netflix.
As always.
As
and then
always,
you can just find me here. I don't have any socials or anything like that, but
that's smart.
Yeah,
Exclusive rights to Kane Pachi Sensei.
I wish I could say it was for moral reasons, but it's really just lazy. Like, now especially, now I can say it's a little bit more morality stuff, but early on it was just more like, man, this seems like a lot of work posting on here and trying to be caught up with stuff. And meanwhile, I'm just like perpetually 3 weeks behind on everything I ever try to do. So, yeah, it was just a nice surprise that I got to be morally correct without trying. So
You were ahead of the game all along.
I was.
Well, it's like me with Harry Potter.
Oh, nice. The ultimate. What a move.
I really dodged that bullet. Oh.
Nice. But, alright, as always, everyone, thanks for listening. We hope that you're enjoying whatever you're reading or watching. And if you haven't yet, give Shonen Jump a shot and then send them an email about how you think you can fix their entire operation. So, alright, well then, we will talk to y'all later.
Don't need to send them an email. Just send them this podcast.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, true. That's good. That's a good plug there too.
Yeah.
Way to be on it. All right, adios.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.